Hi, thank you for joining us again for another segment of Meet the Agent. I'm your host, Alexis Sties, and I'm talking today with an expert realtor out of Texas. He specializes in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, although he does touch a little bit into Houston. His name is Stephen J. Thomas, and he is with the Refined Realty Group that's powered by eXp Realty. So first, I just want to say thank you, Stephen, so much for agreeing to join us today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. I'm really excited about this. So one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about is the role of marketing when it comes to building your book of business and powering that. And so I know that you have some ways that you are standing out from your competition, specifically using social media marketing. So can you talk about some of those ways that you're able to stand out from your competition?
Definitely just constantly trying to stay in front of my target audience. So there's a couple of things that we do over here. Obviously, having social media pages, making sure that our brand and our branding stays consistent, making sure when they see Refined Realty Group that is constantly, the same type of imagery that you're used to. We do a lot of content-driven things where we're giving away some information that we sometimes think are commonplace, but people just don't really know when it comes to the house buying process. So we just try to make sure we're giving out good information that is valuable to the community and making sure that we're a place that they can come to get help.
Well, that's great. And I know that you host a YouTube channel. What are the kinds of things that you post on your YouTube?
Again, there's normal tips. We talk about basics of even budgeting, getting started from the beginning. So you to start your home purchase journey. Where do I start? What do I do? Type things. And we literally go step by step. Hey, you need to start budgeting. You may want to make sure and put yourself in a position to be able to afford a higher mortgage, be able to position to have down payment. We go over basic information, basic tips and terminology that you may hear, those type of things. And we just try to take them through the entire journey of the house buying process. And also, we're starting our series on the selling tips in the next couple of series.
Gotcha. And is that something that you and your team, they all take part in, or is that a specific position that you have on your team for somebody to make that content marketing material?
Right now is mainly my channel that I'm pushing, but I do bring in my agents from time to time because we all have our specialties. So when it's something that I feel that one of my agents has a strength in, I do bring them in as a co-host, and they kind of talk about things that they're good at when it comes to a particular process in the home buying process.
Well, and I think it's really interesting that you're touching on because, we're seeing here at Set Schedule, we're seeing a lot of trends towards things like the iBuyers and stuff like that. And where you have, a channel such as yourself that make a lot of real estate information available. And so a lot of people kind of feel like, or more than ever are feeling that they can sort of do this go alone, kind of cut the agent out of the transaction, which is really opposed to what we feel here at Set Schedule. It's we strongly believe that anybody going into a real estate transaction should be represented by a professional. Can you talk about some of those benefits of working with a professional if you're, say, a civilian who doesn't have a ton of experience in real estate?
And this is for agent or the buyer?
For the buyer or the home seller.
Gotcha. So like I said, we focus on very basic information when it comes to the channel, but we're always reiterating that this is a sky level view of things. Every deal is totally different from the other. There could be title issues, there could be financing issues, there could be credit issues, those types of things. So I always reiterate that you want a professional that's helping on both sides of the transaction to make sure that we're not missing any loopholes or anything like that, and making sure that each side is protected when it comes to the contract. So you want to make sure the contract is fully filled out correctly, making sure everybody understands who's responsible for what, because that's usually what comes down to having a deal breakdown at the end is, disputes over who's responsible for what.
Understood. Well, and I know from speaking with you that you also have a really strong background in finance. So in your experience talking with people, because I know too that you love working with first-time home buyers, what are some of the biggest misunderstandings that you found that a lot of people have about the home selling or home buying process?
On the buyer side, I think the biggest misconception is how close most people are to actually buying a home. I think everybody thinks they need to have a 700 credit score to start the house buying process, and that's not true. Typically, you can start as low as 580, sometimes even lower. So just having someone kind of guide you through the credit process to get you where you need to be able to get a loan. And then, knowing some of the resources out there that help with other situations like down payment assistance, grants and things like that help make the home buying process a little bit easier. And then on the selling side, just making sure you're not being taken advantage of. I know, like you said, a lot of the iBuyers out there that make it very convenient for you to sell your home, but you're giving up a lot of money in the process, a lot of equity that you've been building up over time, and you're giving up a lot of money for the convenience of being able to sell your house to what we call an iBuyer. So I think if they did a little bit more research about how working with a professional may help them save money and still be able to sell their house very quickly, I think most people will go with selling with a real estate agent instead of the iBuyer.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the last study I read said that you save 3% on the commission, but you're typically giving up about 6% on the selling of it, this price.
Right. I truly believe everybody doesn't really come down and look at the actual numbers. I think they have the fear of having to pay a commission. And again, in the spirit of saving the 3% on a listing side, they're, like you said, giving up more than that as the process finally goes through, and they don't realize until the end that they've given up more going through in the iBuyer process than they would by going with the real estate agent.
Definitely, yeah. Our CEO here actually just wrote an article about that, because he's talking too that you don't get that emotional price point either, because you're just working with investors.
Correct.
Yeah, so you don't have people coming in and being able to, imagine their life there and start to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And so I want to kind of move the conversation now into the team, because I know you mentioned a couple times that you have a team and that everybody has their specialty. So can you talk a little bit about the process of forming your team, the Refined Realty Group? Was it an organic process, or did you know that you wanted a team and then you just set out about finding the people that you wanted on your team?
It was very organic for us. We definitely wanted to grow the team, but we don't actively recruit or send out or go after people. We were definitely able to grow the way we did, and we grew very quickly, basically through word of mouth. And also working with other agents that I've done business with, that we've done business with, and they like some of the things that we had in place, like our transaction coordinator. And as in most industries, we all talk to each other and they kind of figure out what we have over here, and they like what we have compared to where they are. So they've reached out and asked about, possibly switching over, and quite a few have.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, in looking at this, first I want to take the perspective of, let's say, somebody who's a new agent, a new real estate agent, you just got licensed. What are some of the benefits of working on a team? Because I think that sort of similar to what we were talking about with the iBuyer sentiment, that a lot of people are shy away from this idea of teams because that sort of knee-jerk response to sharing some of your commission and not wanting to necessarily do that. But can you talk about what are some of the pros of working with a team that you wouldn't necessarily get building your career on your own?
Well, the biggest pro is probably mentorship. Once you get out of any real estate school and take your test and you get that license and now you're a real estate agent, that basic information doesn't really tell you how to go out and be successful. It tell you how to write a contract, some of the terminology, things like that. But how do I go out and find clients on a regular basis and consistently is probably the biggest and most challenging thing for any real estate agent, not just a brand new agent. So having and connecting with someone that has been successful, has gone through the grind of being a real estate agent is beneficial. Again, you don't necessarily have to join a team to do that. You can find a mentor at any point in time, but most teams will give you that mentorship in some form or fashion and have other assets and tools for you to use by being a part of a group instead of trying to go out this thing by yourself or kind of on an island. So, I mean, most people that definitely starting off, I definitely suggest joining a team in your first couple of years so you can absorb or gain as much on the field training or information as possible.
Gotcha. Well, and now taking the perspective of someone like yourself who would be the team lead, because you mentioned that you don't recruit, so I'm guessing you probably have more people who want to join your team than you necessarily have space to allow them, which is always, a good problem to have. But from your perspective, what are things that you're looking for when you are considering bringing somebody on, adding them onto your team?
What we look for someone that definitely has drive. We can give you as many tools and as many leads as we can. We can put everything in front of you, but if you don't have your own drive, then there's nothing I can really do as your team lead to get you to become successful. You got to be able or want that more than I want it for you. Secondly, got to be coachable. We all come from different backgrounds and sometimes come from different brokerages where things are done differently and things like that. But you made the switch or came into this industry for a reason. So listening and being able to take coaching from someone that has been there and done it before, I think is important. And two, always be trying to educate yourself and learn, because our industry is changing so fast. And it changes, almost by the minute sometimes. There's something new that's getting introduced. There's a new technology. There's a new website, that people are gravitating to. So being able to put yourself in position to make that pivot if you need to is important as well. Definitely.
And what are some ways that you are able to keep yourself informed so that you're staying on the cutting edge of all those developments?
I know in our particular area in Dallas, Fort Worth area, and I'm pretty sure it's pretty much the same in everywhere else. There's always educational classes that are be giving out by all forms of people in our industry: title companies, mortgage companies, home warranty companies, are doing some type of educational classes, most of the time for free, if not for a small minimum payment of 10, 15, 20 bucks or so, about classes, about just about everything. Your legal classes, your internet classes, as as social media becomes more stronger in what we do, there's our experts out there that are teaching our industry about how to use Facebook and Instagram. Now, I'm learning TikTok. So it just shows how quickly everything is moving in our particular industry, where reaching out to local professionals, not just real estate agents, but also anybody in the industry. Like I said, title companies and mortgage companies usually have some type of educational classes going on that will teach you just about anything that you want to know in this environment.
Well, and I want to turn a little bit now back to some of the social media, because you just mentioned that. Have you been able to identify or track any patterns or trends as far as who engages with your content or with your channels, or are you still kind of in a space where you sort of are kind of throwing it against the wall and seeing what sticks?
I think I'm kind of in the area where I have a following. It'll be an instance where I may miss a show, or maybe put something different content out, and my direct messages will go off and say, hey, I missed the show today. What happened? Or get a phone call or a text message speaking on something that I talked about in my weekly show or to that effect. So, and then I got a lot of things that I'm doing where I'm actually starting to track my viewage, my clicks and things like that. So I'm getting better at finding out what avenues and what content that people like, and I'm trying to do more of that.
Gotcha. And so far, what seems to be getting you the most traction?
The biggest traction that I get, is a weekly show that I do that I call Finance Fridays, where I go on, talk about, some things, mainly real estate, but mainly financial tips that, very basic, but, to the general public, most of them don't know about it. And that has really taken off bigger than I expected it to be. And I go live every Friday on Facebook and then Instagram. And then once I edit it, I put it on my YouTube channel. And all 3 platforms, people are tuning into it and are loving the content. Like I said, I get a lot of feedback through text messages or phone calls or even direct messages about things that they want to learn about, or if something resonated with them, they let me know about it. So it's been going well. I've been doing it for about 4 or 5 months now.
Well, that's awesome, because then that's great, because you get them to engage, so then the kind of content that they want, so that you can deliver that and then build the viewership. Well, that's smart. That's really smart.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Well, and then lastly, I kind of want to talk a little bit about the nature of internet leads, because, again, that's kind of what brought us here. And so this will probably be viewed by agents who either are familiar with internet leads or are new to them, are contemplating just starting to get into internet leads. So can you talk about, when you are working internet leads specifically, first of all, what's your process? So let's say you get a new lead right now. What would be your first step?
First step is try to at least get into contact with them as soon as possible. We send out an email and a text message as soon as it hits our system, and then we try to give a phone call within the first 30 minutes. Usually when somebody's going online and clicking on a landing page and it's being driven to whatever source that is collecting that information, you want to be in front of them as soon as they're clicking. So when you are calling and get in touch with them, they remember who you are or why they clicked on what they clicked. So the quicker you get to them, the better.
And are you finding that people are initially receptive to being contacted by a realtor they don't know, or does it take some time to build that rapport and kind of earn their trust?
It's hit or miss, but mainly most people that are online, and also depends on what area that they're coming from, or the source that it's coming from. If they're more on one of the more entertainment sites like Facebook or Instagram, they're really not there to shop for a home, but they may be interested in it in the next couple of months or down the line. So they were interested at that point in time, but they may not be ready to go right now. Those type of leads you're going to have to nurture and stay in contact with. Make sure you're getting yourself in front of them as much as you can without being a wordsome or a busybody. But you also want to be sending them good and quality content that is beneficial to them. But then you have some places where they may be ready to go, and you'll get on the phone with them and help them point them in the right direction as far as probably getting financing or to down payment assistance, or being able to start working together in a couple of weeks. So I've had both.
Great. And so when you're doing that sort of courting process, I assume you're starting to also send them over some of your social media information so they can start tuning in, getting an idea of you. Oh, that's brilliant.
Right.
That's
you
smart.
definitely want to, connect with them as best you can. Because when, let's be honest, you're a stranger until you, kind of introduce yourself to them. And there's different ways to introduce yourself to them. Again, some people may be standoffish and may not want to have a phone conversation with you. So it goes through a text message, where I've had and gained clients where I literally hadn't texted them for 3 months. And it wasn't until we went to go look at houses that we finally put our eyes on each other. There are some that have not responded to any of my contact attempts, text messages, phone calls, emails, but they end up showing up on my friend request. I've had that happen before. So, I mean, again, you just kind of try to find which each person or each lead's hotspot is, and you try your best to capitalize on how they want to be contacted.
Well, and now moving into the future. So we get a lot of feedback or inquiries from people who are kind of standoffish about the real estate market right now, particularly kind of waiting for this idea of like a bubble to burst or something like that. And granted, we have, indicators with the interest rate and stuff like that, things will stay stable. But still, I think a lot of people are a little hesitant. So from your perspective as a professional, what are some of your 2020 market predictions for your area specifically?
Well, Texas is still hot. I think of the top 5 hottest or fastest growing places, I think Texas has 3, maybe 4. I know Austin and San Antonio is big. Dallas is still big. Houston is still big. A lot of companies are still coming to our area. So as far as the national market share when it comes to how everything is affecting the real estate market, I don't think we're in that boat. And then also Texas is a very conservative state as well, so we have a lot of laws and protections that keep us from a lot of things that go on, or that even went on in 2008. We stayed pretty strong in our market values because of some of the laws that we have in place, where we didn't see we all were affected by it, but we were not affected as greatly as other states were because of some of the protections that we have here. So going into the future, and every indication that I've read and stayed up on, I know that DFW, we're still growing, and I don't see our values going down for quite some time.
That's exciting. So the American dream is still alive and well in Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
Good to hear.
we're getting to the point where we're asking people not to come to Dallas.
Well, again, that's a good problem to have. Right. Well, thank you so much, Stephen. This was an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Can you tell our viewers some of the places that they can find you?
Yes, ma'am. You can reach me personally at StephenJThomas.com. You can also learn more about our company, Refine Realty Group, at refinerealtygroup.com. All our social media is Refine Realty DFW on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. All are, again, Refine Realty DFW.
Oh, that's awesome. And just to clarify too, that's Stephen with a V, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again, Stephen. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope you have a fantastic week.
All right. Thank you.